Hello everybody, today is 23rd of November. My name is Sahil and welcome to the newspaper analysis. Guys, first of all, before having the today's GS folder, I would like to clarify certain of the things. See, into the past few days, you have seen that we had quite extended the scope of the daily newspaper articles that we are taking. Earlier, we were only covering the Hindu newspaper, then we started the attachments from the Business Standard, the Live Mint, Financial Express, Indian Express, and all such kind of sources. But into between, I got many of the requests that we should take up the Hindu as the primary source, and we have taken up that thing also. But guys, there are certain things which I would like to clarify. See, I know that there is a kind of a notion which goes into the UPSC examination that you need to stick to the Hindu, or Hindu needs to be the primary source of your all the current affairs related things. But guys, I don't very strongly believe into this particular notion, because this particular thought has been kind of pushed from so many of the years. But now, as the UPSC is changing, the type of questions which are being asked are changing, the entire orientation of the prelims exam have changed. So I think that there is a kind of a thought which is needed to be given with respect to the current affair sources. Guys, you need to understand one particular thing, that as the people have ideology, a particular source or a particular newspaper also have an ideology. And see, when we stay too much focused only on to the Hindu newspaper, into the mean course of a time we get only one kind of a spectrum, that is a leftist kind of viewpoints we get over the things. And guys, many a times you might have also observed this thing, that one type of topic is over and over repeated into the Hindu newspaper. And today there are such excellent pieces of opinion newses which are coming into the two sources, particularly that is the Business Standard and the Live Mint, and also particularly into the Financial Express. So guys, I believe that at the end of the day you need to be a person of ideas, and that vibrancy of ideas will only be possible if we will be able to enhance the sources of the newspapers that we are covering. See, in UPSC there are two type of things. Number one is the fact. Fine, at the end of the day you will be getting the fact, because if a new scheme has been launched, or a new initiative has been launched, or any kind of a multilateral bilateral talk has happened, it will be covered in all the pages, all the papers, so that will not be left. Okay, secondly, it is about the opinions which you need. Fine, so for that opinion part we need to extend our multiple our sources. Fine. And guys, there is one more thing, that you might be getting hundreds of channels onto the YouTube who are just doing the passive reading of the Hindu newspaper from page to page. They are doing that particular thing. So how I can make my initiative little bit more helpful, it is that I don't want to personally involve in just reading of the articles from page by page, because then my input will not be there. So I believe that I will be continuing with the kind of an approach where I will be taking more sources, but the sources will be holistic. My idea will be make you a person of opinions, a person of a polished intellect. So I will be continuing with this approach where I will be picking up the selective sources which will be helping you to form a kind of a well diversified opinion. So guys, this was the thing, and now let's take up the today's newspaper analysis. So first of all, let's have the today's GS folder. So today we are taking the quote from the Wes Fessler. Now, Wes Fessler had talked about the role of accountability in one person's life. He says, good men are bound by conscience and liberated by accountability. Now, this particular thing portrays that how to understand accountability or answerability as a kind of a bondage is a false thing. Rather, the people who have a kind of a conscience, or the people who have the real understanding over the liberation, they give accountability as a course of their duty. Guys, we can utilize this particular quote in our GS paper number 4 into the ethics, where the accountability or the values of the civil servants have been asked. So guys, that's all, and now let's take the overview of the articles that we will be covering today. Friends, I would like to tell you that you can go to our Telegram channel and can download the infographics that I'm using here into the PDF format, as well as the other articles into the PDF format are also shared there. The link has been given into the description. Now guys, let's have the overview of the articles. So this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the new Kerala law which aims to curb the defamation. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is talking about also the same particular thing with respect to the Kerala government decision. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the frontier highway project for the Arunachal Pradesh and its strategic importance. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Financial Express, and it talks about the idea of the smart water and how the artificial intelligence as well as the ICT can play an important role in it. Then guys, this particular article, it is talking about the Sentinel 6, which has been launched by the USA. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Live Mint, and it talks about the pros and cons of the banking license norms, which has been just recently be released by the Reserve Bank of India. After that guys, this also article is talking into the same line. Then guys, this particular article, it talks about the integration of the app based solutions with the phishing. Very good idea for the Neel Kranti mission. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express. It is talking about how the global world order needs to be made much more collaborative. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express. It is talking about the G20 summit. Then guys, this particular article has been taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it is talking about the recent global conference onto the criminal finances. So guys, these are all the major articles that we will be taking up today. And now let's discuss them in detail. Now, the first article that we are taking up here I have clubbed one article from the Hindu newspaper and one of the article from the Indian Express newspaper. And this particular article talks about the new amendment which has been brought into the Kerala, that is an amendment carried into the Kerala Police Act 2011. Now, by this particular amendment, more teeth has been given to the law enforcement agencies, that if they find any act of defamation of any person by any particular communication media, then they can basically imprison that person for the 3 years of the jail term, or the fine of 10,000 rupees can be imposed. Now, this particular act by the Kerala government has been called as a fundamental attack onto the freedom of express as well as onto the freedom of free speech. And basically, it has been said that it goes ultra wires to the article number 19 of the Indian Constitution. Now, guys, if we talk about this particular development more, always these particular efforts have been very much criticized onto the part of the government, and even the Supreme Court has taken the noting of this particular thing in 2015. Now, what happened in 2015? There was the Shreya Singhal judgment which was given by the Supreme Court, and here the Supreme Court invalidated the section number 66A of the IT Act 2000. Now, this section 66A, it provided that if any person via the internet or via the social media, if he tries to defame a particular person, then the person could be given the punishment. And guys, what happened? There was a particular incident when two of the girls into the Maharashtra, they criticized the ban onto the Maharashtra because of some political leader who passed away. Now, I will not be taking the name of the political leader, and at that point of time, those two girls were arrested by utilizing the section number 66A. So guys, there was the petition was made. Supreme Court said that no, you cannot arrest a person if simply he is expressing his or her opinions, and it just invalidated it, the section 66A. And at that point of time, one more section, that is the section 18D of the Kerala Police Act, was invalidated because it was also trying to provide such kind of things. Now guys, the change which government has brought into the Kerala Police Act, it is nothing but again the reviving of the provision which was earlier declared as invalid by the Supreme Court. And guys, this particular thing has been severely criticized. It has been said that Kerala particularly is being ruled by the leftist government, and the leftist government has often talked that the rightist governments, they are trampling the freedoms of the speech, expression and all these liberties, and now such kind of action by a progressive state is a basically kind of a thing which needs to be concerned about. Now guys, one more particular concept I would like to introduce here, that is the savior complex. Now, what is the savior complex? See, savior complex is a phenomena where the governments, they try to bring the controversial laws onto the excuse of protecting the vulnerable sections. Now, what Kerala government had done, they had said that they are bringing this particular change to protect the sections such as the transgender women, because often they are being criticized onto the social media, or basically via the different types of media. But this savior complex often has been found to be inadequate, and basically it is just an excuse to basically cover up the on intentions of the government. So guys, this is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood all these particular attachments, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this next article, it has been taken from the Financial Express newspaper, and this article is important for our GS paper number 3 under the topic of the infrastructure, as well as it is important for our GS paper number 2 under the ease of living in India. Now, what has happened here? Here, the project or the basically initiative of the smart water has been explained. Guys, first of all, if I talk, then there is the Sustainable Development Goal number 6, which provides the clean water and sanitation, okay, as a kind of a goal which has to be achieved by 2030. Now, into this particular line, guys, first of all, let's understand the Smart City Mission. So, Smart City Mission is a flagship program by the government where 100 cities will be developed as the smart cities in India, and these cities have been accepted by the Smart City Challenge competition. Now, guys, into all the smart cities, there are some foundational pillars. What are these foundational pillars? Smart energy, smart building, smart mobility, smart government, smart healthcare, and smart water. Now, guys, this particular article is picking up the one component, that is the smart water. Why smart water? Because, guys, into the times of the present pandemic, fine, when the hygiene is to be maintained, there the water becomes a very important dimension. Moreover, guys, right now we can see the stress of the climate change as well as the reducing amount of water into the ground tables, into the river, into the aquifer. It is such a big concern. So, guys, it has been said that it is high time that some urgent interventions needed to be made onto the smart water front. First of all, guys, what do we understand by this smart water or the smart water management? So it is nothing but the management of water's quality as well as quantity, fine, via the application of the information and communication technology, artificial intelligence, and by the real time data. So what is done here? Here we regulate the flow of water. We basically identify the leakages if there are any into the pipeline and other infrastructure. We identify what is the pressure or the flow of water, how much water can be devoted to the irrigation, how the flood management can be made much more effective. So all these dimensions are put together and they are synchronized under a single component under the smart water management. And see, today as we are talking about the increased urbanization which is going on into the India, this smart water management needs to be the most important thing which government should look whenever the city development is being considered. Now, guys, it has been said that the smart water is not just the physical management of the water, but it also brings the concept such as the circular economy. First of all, what do we understand by this circular economy? Circular economy means that the economy which is based more onto the recycling. Fine. In terms of water, particularly, if I tell you, our economic model is linear, where you use water and you just discard it. But circular economy will be like this. First of all, you use water. For example, you use water, then you recycle that particular water for other purposes. Then again, you need to clear that particular water, purify that particular water, again bring it into the use. Then there is the rationalized price mechanism which we also install. Now, guys, often it has been said that into India water is either over subsidized or it is free. Because of this particular thing, people are not realizing the importance of the water, and water is not being safeguarded as some precious commodity, rather it is being wasted. Then, guys, green infrastructure for water sensitive planning also needs to be brought. Now, water sensitive planning is that infrastructure of our cities, it should focus on to the water collection when it comes through the rain. After that, that basically drainages need to be planned in such a way that water is conserved to the maximum extent. After that, guys, it has been said that as the water management or the smart water management has to be carried, India can collaborate with the South Korea and Singapore, because they have developed very much effective smart water management roadmaps. Now, guys, in India, there are three particular projects which are going on, and these three projects are needed to be stitched together under one block. That is the Jal Jeevan Mission, the Digital India Mission, and the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan will bring the money component, Digital India Mission will bring the IT component or the ICT component, and the Jal Jeevan will actually be bringing the water. So these three elements brought together can provide the smart water into India. So guys, this particular thing becomes a very important aspect in the urbanization, infrastructure, as well as into the ease of living. So guys, this is all about this particular article. I hope that you have understood, and the phrases, the expressions which have been used here, you will be utilizing it into your answer. So that's all. Now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article taken from the Hindu newspaper, and it talks about the need for developing the infrastructure into the northeast, particularly into the Arunachal Pradesh, and therefore it becomes important for our GS paper number 3, that is the security. Fine. Now guys, let's see this particular article. So what has happened, the chief minister of the Arunachal Pradesh, he had mooted the idea of developing the Frontier Highway project as the priority of government. Now, Frontier Highway project, it is a kind of a infrastructural roadmap for the Arunachal Pradesh, so that kind of the mobilization of troops can become easy. Now, guys, you know that the Arunachal Pradesh is making the boundary with the Tibet, and the China, they had often claimed the Arunachal Pradesh also as the part of their own territory. And into this particular thing, guys, earlier China has shown some kind of a bizarre claims also. For example, earlier there was a controversy just like 5 to 6 years back. That was the controversy of the stapled visa, where the stapled visas were given to the people of the Arunachal Pradesh. It means that the people of Arunachal Pradesh, they belong to the China only. However, we'll not go into that particular controversy. And now it has been said that as the China is asserting so much of the pressure onto the Ladakh, it might come towards the side of the Arunachal Pradesh also. So therefore, along the India-Tibet border, we need to develop a proper roadway network, so that if such a confrontation happens, the troop can mobilize easily into that particular area. Now guys, it has been said that it becomes even more important because if we see China, China is actively developing a railway project up till the Tibetan boundary, and if India is not ready, then India might have a lower hand into this particular region. So from strategic angle, it becomes a very important thing. However guys, as this particular project is being talked about, there are certain challenges also which might be coming into this particular project. Challenge number one, this particular region is having a very fragile ecology, and any such large scale infrastructure project will be undermining the ecology, because the roads, the tunnels have to be digged up, the slopes have to be reshaped, and thus there will be the protest even from the tribal communities which are living there. After that guys, the funding, it is going to be a very problematic task. See, a huge funding will be required for this particular project. And guys, earlier also we applied to the Asian Development Bank for the funding for developing the infrastructure into the northeast along the boundary region, but that particular bid was blocked by the China, citing the security concerns for China. Fine. So therefore there could be a problem onto the funding aspect. Thirdly guys, there is also a problem. What is the case? Government is already sponsoring a very big infrastructure project in Arunachal Pradesh, that is the Trans Arunachal Highway project. But guys, this particular project already had seen a large number of problem. Number one, the cost has been enhanced extensively because the compensation that is to be given to the people, it is much more than what government allocated the budget for this project. After that guys, the terrain or the mountainous region, it is also posing much of the problems with respect to the engineering of this entire project. So guys, as the Trans Arunachal Highway project has not been seen the much effective development onto that particular line, the Frontier Highway project might also be little bit a problematic task. So guys, this is all about this particular article, the challenges as well as prospects. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Live Mint, and it is important for our GS paper number 3 as well as for the prelims, as it is talking about one of the satellite probe that has been launched. So, guys, Copernicus Sentinel 6, it has been launched by the USA via the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Now guys, SpaceX, you might have heard a large number of projects are being undertaken by it. Guys, Falcon, it is a rocket which has been designed by the SpaceX, which is the American MNC led by the Elon Musk. And guys, it is the first example when the commercial space agency is taking up such a large number of projects. So basically, it is an example of the private entity entering into such a sophisticated domain. Now, guys, though India had also taken up certain efforts onto this particular front, because if you are following, then we had seen that government earlier announced the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, where the Indian space sector has also been opened up to the private players. And into this particular thing, the ISRO is also making up the Ind Space, which will be a kind of an arm of the ISRO, but it will be dealing with the private entities as how they can be enrobed meaningfully into the space sector. So guys, moving a little bit beyond this particular thing and coming to the present article. So Copernicus Sentinel 6 satellite has been launched. This satellite has been sponsored by two of the parties. One is the USA and other are the European Space Agency. And this particular satellite will actually be observing the ocean water level, that how much ocean water is rising, then the movement of the ocean water, ocean currents, after that the shape of the oceans. Now guys, this particular thing becomes very much important because into the aftermath of the problem which are being caused by the climate change, because it has been said that the glaciers are melting very slowly and but gradually, and into mean course of time the water level might rise from 1 foot to 2 foot. This particular thing was said by the IPCC fifth assessment report. So guys, into this particular thing, observing the water level, it becomes a very important task. So all these things will be done by the Copernicus Sentinel 6. Now first of all, you also need to keep it in your mind that this is not the first time that such a project has been undertaken. Since 1992, the satellite missions have been taken for this particular purpose. So guys, there was earlier the Topex Poseidon, the satellite. After that, there was the Jason 1, Jason 2, and now the Copernicus Sentinel 6. Now guys, one more thing, this Copernicus Sentinel 6, it will be launched in two of the phases. First phase, now a satellite has been launched, and after that one more satellite will be launched in 2025, and it will be looking into all these dimensions. Guys, by observing the water as well as the observing the sea, we can also predict the hurricanes if they are coming into the future, La Nina events, El Nino events, as well as impact of the climate change. So guys, a very important project, please keep in your mind for your exam. So that's it, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is talking about certain prescriptions for the global order or the world order which is needed to bring more peace into the world. Guys, let's see this particular article what it says. See, if you have seen just a few days back the Joe Biden's address which he made after being elected for the presidential post, he said that I will not be seeing the state as the red states or the blue states, rather I will be seeing the American states as the United States of America. What he indicated, he indicated that I will not be involving into the divisions that are prevalent into the USA. Now guys, this particular thinking line is very much important across the world. See, if we see right now, the world is extensively polarized, clear, and these polarizations are visible within the country and between the countries also. Guys, US, Brazil, India, France, Pakistan, region, race, ethnicities, they are dividing them. After that guys, inter country divisions are also there. For example, just take the example of China and USA. Now China and USA, they are the largest and second largest economies, and they are involved into a confrontation where it has been said that a kind of a cold war is on to the brink. Then guys, just take the example of the India and China. Now India and China, they are the world's largest and second largest populous countries, and their military confrontation is also going continuously from last 7 to 8 months. After that guys, a hot war is going into the Brazil, where the political adversaries, they have set up Amazon forest onto the fire, and such political crisis is going on there. Then guys, India and Pakistan confrontation is going on, where the ceasefire violations, they have breached all the records into this particular year. Then guys, just to see that how the USA and Russia are also going into a very kind of a deadly kind of a thing, because what has happened, see, there is a new start treaty which was signed between the US as well as Russia, and the objective of the new start treaty is this, that both the countries will be reducing their stockpile of the missiles, nuclear weapons and all these things. Now this particular treaty is to be expired in on February 2021, and Trump had said very clearly that they will not be making any effort to renegotiate this new start treaty, because US had faced the kind of had not seen any kind of benefit out of it. However, as now Joe Biden will be coming into the office, there might be a possibility that he might be taking it forward. But anyhow, this particular thing, if it is not signed, it will show a kind of a way that where there will be again kind of the mad race for the development of the missiles and all these technologies. So obviously all these things indicate that right now the world global order is not peaceful, it is polarized, it is divided. So there is some reforms or some prescriptions that are there which we can give if some suggestions are being asked from you, as well as into the essays. The prescriptions which I will be discussing now are very much important. First of all, it has been said here that there is the need of effective global governance. Fine. Now this effective global governance means that the government structures, they need to be based onto the principles of the non discrimination between their citizens as well as other citizens. They need to focus as how the countries can be united into one structure, as well as how the justice can be brought not only for their own citizens but for all the citizens. Guys, one reference beyond the scope of this particular article I would like to give you, that such an idea corresponds to the idea of a cosmopolitanism which was given by the Rabindranath Tagore. However, guys, moving forward, next prescription which has been given here, it is that, guys, now often it has been said that exclusive and paramount sovereignty, which is often talked by the different countries, this particular sovereignty has imposed many problems onto the global peace. Guys, this kind of an exclusive sovereignty is a barrier to the human unity. So this sovereignty is now needed to be given a little bit lower hand, and in that particular place the shared sovereignty needs to be more talked about. Shared sovereignty is based on to the idea of connectivity. So physical connectivity, cultural connectivity, connectivity of people to people, all these particular things needs to be now more focused. Guys, we don't need to behave as the isolated islands of the power, but rather we need to behave as a continent of the shared values. Such a kind of an expression we need to show right now. After that, guys, it has been said that often whenever the international disputes have been there, they have been militarized, and after that militarization, unnecessarily bloodbath and all these kind of things had happened. So into that particular place we need to install a framework of peace, and we need to declare that any militarization of international dispute will be criminalized. Now guys, the article provides this particular thing, that this will be called as a over ambitious kind of idea, or it might be called as the utopian or idealistic thing also. But see, it has been provided that into our own domestic territories we can say that any criminal activity is criminalized, fine, or any kind of militarization is criminalized. Why not onto the global level we can bring that particular thing? Then guys, the next idea is that United Nation as a body has become redundant, and we need to bring substantial reforms on it. What reforms? We need to abolish the permanent membership into the United Nations Security Council, because these permanent members, they are not reflective of any global order. And guys, basically it also creates a kind of an unequal power structure. So such kind of thing needs to be removed, as it goes against equality. Then guys, empowered participation needs to be there. See, right now what happens, the country to country participation is via only the politicians, but often politicians have the narrow interested vested interest, and they have the narrow perceptions. Guys, apart from the politicians, there are large number of other stakeholders. For example, example, the musicians, the artists, the kind of the ambassadors of the peace, they have a much wide appeal and they are accepted across the continents. Their likability is much more them, so they should also be involved into the cross country dialogues. So guys, all these suggestions have been provided which are needed right now very eagerly in order to bring a kind of a genuine peace. So guys, all these particular articles are there. Please keep them into your mind and please do utilize in ethics paper number 4. If you remember, then into the topic number 6, the international relation has been talked about. Into the international relation, the ethical conduct is to be shown and the peace and all these values are to be pursued. So guys, there also it becomes a kind of an excellent suggestion. So please keep it in your mind. And now we'll be moving to the next article. Now guys, these two particular articles have been taken from the Mint newspaper and they are talking about the recent decision which has been given by the Reserve Bank of India's internal working group with respect to some of the changes into the banking structure. Now guys, this particular article is important for our GS paper number 3, banking. Now, first of all, I'll tell you what has happened. Reserve Bank of India had said that now the large corporates, they are allowed to promote the banks. They can convert the NBFCs which they are running into the banks. Now this particular thing guys is little bit different from the traditional approach of the government. You might have heard that in 1969 the bank nationalization was carried, and into this bank nationalization government said that the banking sector will now be more of a monopoly of the government, and since then the large corporates have been kept aside, and now that particular thing is being changed. So it is a kind of a different reform which is coming in last 50 years. So guys, it has been said, if I tell you what actually the technical things have changed, guys, now the corporate houses or the industrial houses, they can increase their stake into the banks to 26%. Earlier that particular thing was capped at 15%. After that guys, it has been said that now the norms with respect to the converting up a payment bank into the small finance bank, they are also being liberalized, and if a 3-year track record is there which is good, financially sound, they can convert it. Moreover guys, it has been said that if any of the NBFC which is being basically run by a corporate house or an industrial house for the 10 years, condition number 1, and if they are having the asset size of 50,000 crore rupees or more, then those industrial houses can convert their NBFCs into the banks. So it is a much big thing which is coming. Now guys, it has been said that this particular move is a good move into the present time by the RBI. Why good move? We'll see the reasons. Number 1 guys, the banking sector has been capital starved. Fine, and much more capital infusion is needed into the bank. Now government cannot provide endlessly the bailout from its own side, so new capital can be brought if industrial sector will be allowed into the banking sector. Second guys, what has happened, it is a kind of a phenomena which is very much prominent into the USA. Bank is on to the verge of technology led transformation. What is this technology led transformation? Guys, now the Google and Apple, they have clarified or they have just rolled out their plans that now they will be entering into the financial sector. These two companies will be making of the tie-ups with the banks. Bank will provide the capital and all the kind of statutory regulation clearances will be with the bank, and they will be providing the loan, financial facilities and all these kind of things. And guys, as the Apple Pay has been started by the Apple, Google has started the Google Pay and all such kind of services, it indicates that into the times to come much more kind of services they will be offering. So into that particular thing, if Indian banks need to be competitive, they also need to be fused with the technological transformation, and such technological transformation can be brought very conveniently if the corporate houses or industrial houses, they will be fused, because they have much more capital, they have much more technical expertise into that particular line. After that guys, these corporates or the private run organizations, they also have very good managerial expertise, and often we had seen that our banks, they have been driven onto very poor managerial skills. So that particular thing will be very good. But there is one issue also, that is the conflict of interest. Guys, earlier it was seen before the 1969 bank nationalization that often much of the loans by the bank were given to the people who were into the board and who were running the influential business houses. Now, this particular conflict of interest can come again, but guys, it has been said that since 1969, our banking sector has been much evolved, much more stringent checks and balances have been kept. So today it will not be a that big a problem. Fine. So guys, this is all about this particular thing. So that's all about this particular article, guys. Much probably a question could be asked, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article, it has been taken from the Live Mint, and a very good kind of an idea has been given. See, guys, you might have heard this particular expression, that is the blue economy. What is blue economy? Blue economy is the economic growth that a country can achieve by exploiting the ocean resources. Clear? Into the ocean resources, the fisheries are there, ocean mineral resources are there, fine, utilizing the basically coastline infrastructure, port, all these things will be covered. Guys, even government has recognized the potential of the blue economy and had started the Neel Kranti mission. Fine. Now, guys, it has been said that into the blue economy, the fishery always happened to be a very big component, and in India, the fishery is also very much important because of two things. Number one, there are large number of fishermen who are just be dependent on to the fishery as for their primary source of income. Secondly, guys, we have a very important, we are having a very large coastline, more than 7500 kilometers, but into that particular comparison, there is much potential which India can harvest out of the fishery sector, but it has not done it till now. So the fisheries happen to be a very big component, but guys, always the fishermen, they have seen much problems into catching the fish, because often the technologies are very obsolete. Okay, their operationalities are very much small, restricted. Now, into this particular direction, a particular revolutionary thing is coming, that is the mobile app based solutions. Now, guys, what these mobile app based solutions can provide and how they can bring a revolution. See, these mobile app based solutions, for example, a particular application by the name OFish, it analyzes the satellite image data, and onto the basis of that satellite image data, they send the notification to the fishers that where the algal blooms are there. Now, guys, algal blooms are the dead zone where the fishes don't venture. So, where there are the algal blooms, so that the farmers don't go there, and where there are the much concentration of fishes, or where there are the schools, because wherever the schools will be, there will be the much better fish catch. So farmers will be given the coordinates that where they should directly go. Guys, in absence of such kind of things, what farmers are doing? Farmers, they just trying their luck into the different parts of the ocean. They are wasting their time, they are wasting their fuel, and their incomes are not also very much impressive. But these particular solution can bring a revolution. Now, guys, the OFish particular mobile application which I am talking about, it is receiving the satellite imagery from the European Space Agency. And guys, basically it is also a kind of an indicator that government has not been, ISRO particularly has not been very much active onto this particular front. However, now as government has said that they are more basically liberalizing their space regime, so now even the ISRO can provide them the data. Guys, the particularly OFish, it has also collaborated with the World Food Program, and World Food Program has also recognized that this particular kind of intervention is very much needed into the fishery sector. So, guys, these app-based platforms, they can provide the data to the fishers by which they can enhance their fish catch. Moreover, guys, they can also provide one more additional service, that is connecting the fishermen with the markets. Now, as this particular thing was realized much when the lockdown was started, guys, before just the lockdown, there was a large number of fishers who had the very good catch of the fishes, but as the markets were closed, they were not able to sell their fishes. So, guys, into this particular thing, a need was realized that what if directly the fishermen and the households which consume the fish, they are connected. So this particular thing has much more potential. So, guys, this is all the directions into this particular thing, and into the blue revolution fishery. So this happens to be a very big component. Guys, please do keep it in your mind and provide these app based mobile solutions as how they could be the technological partners which can bring the transform. Fine. So, guys, this is all about this particular article, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article has been taken from the Indian Express, and it is basically talking about the key takeaways which happened into the G20 summit. So, guys, talking about the G20, G20 is a platform where the 19 countries and one European Union, they come together. Their governments, their central bank governors, they come together and discuss onto the economic prospects. It started in 1999. Now, guys, first of all, the key takeaway from the G20 which has been conducted. First of all, India will not be hosting the 2022 G20 summit, which India earlier expected to host at the eve of 75-year independence anniversary. Guys, what has happened? India has exchanged this particular thing with Indonesia. Now, Indonesia will be hosting the 2022 and India will be hosting the 2023. Why? Because, guys, in 2023, Indonesia has to host the ASEAN summit also. So, just to relieve the burden, Indonesia requested the India that they give them their 2022 spot. So, India had agreed, and this particular thing has happened. So, guys, what is now the kind of a latest timeline? 2021 will be hosted in Italy, 2022 into the Indonesia, and 2023 into the India. This was one thing. After that, guys, the Prime Minister has talked about the climate change. Into the climate change, Prime Minister had said that we are often working into the silos. Clear, our approach to address the climate change has been basically scattered into the different pockets, but we need a kind of an integrative way, and the developed countries, they need to provide the technology as well as financial support to the developing countries. Now, moreover, guys, he had said that Indian traditional ethos always talked that environment should be conserved, and because of this particular thing, India is well ahead to meet all the targets that it has taken into the Paris Climate Summit. Guys, it has been said that India has been so much successful in adopting the renewable that earlier 175 gigawatt renewable target which was adopted for 2022, India will be reaching that, as well as India had said that now 450 gigawatt of renewable energy will be developed by 2030. Moreover, guys, after this particular thing, Prime Minister has also talked about the reform into the multilateralism and had said that the global governance is needed, just the thing which we have discussed into the Indian Express article. After that, he said that into the post-pandemic world, how the faster recovery is possible for that particular thing also, the United Nations should develop a strategy. And guys, that strategy will only be developed when the vested interest will not be there. Thirdly, guys, fourthly, guys, he had also talked about the 2030 sustainable development goals, and for that particular thing he had talked that the countries should come into the collaboration, should help each other so that these 2030 targets can be achieved. So, guys, this is all about the major key takeaways from the G20 summit, and now we'll be moving to the next article. Now, guys, this particular article talks, it is just a kind of a one-liner article only. What happened just recently, the fourth global conference onto the criminal finances and the cryptocurrency happened. And into this particular conference, first of all, it was organized by the Interpol, Europol, and the Basel Institute on Governance. And guys, here it was just identified that how the trends can be noted where the cryptocurrencies are being used for some bad purposes, where the money or basically is being laundered, and that particular money is being ending to promote the criminal financing, terror funding, and all these particular kind of things. So, guys, a very generalistic kind of article, much key takeaway is not there. So, guys, just that's all about this particular article. So, guys, this was all about the important news articles for today, and I hope that you have liked the discussion and you have liked the format. Guys, if you have liked it, please do comment it so that I can continue this particular initiative in this particular format. Please tell me your opinion. So, guys, that's all for today. Thank you so much.